Hello everyone and welcome to Shifting Gears and welcome inside the Maruti Suzuki JImny. I have the four-wheel drive automatic version. This is the top of the line JImny that I have with me today. Now at the end of July 2024, Maruti Suzuki has been kind enough to send us this vehicle for a review, and in this video I'm going to tell you what is good about this car and what is not so good about this car. Now you know the pricing, you know the vehicle's size, you have seen it out on the road, you know everything about the road presence and all of that. So I'm not going to talk too much about how overpriced the JImny is, because of which it is now retailing at mega discounts in lakhs, and still it is, a difficult task for the dealers to find potential buyers. Yes, it is not extraordinary in terms of the features and kit that it offers, but it is something very different, isn't it? It looks quite unique. Even with its small size, it is still something desirable as a niche product, and it does make sense to some people. Let me tell you honestly, when I saw the vehicle, I liked it. When I heard the price, I hated it. After that, I hated it for a really long time. I first drove the JImny in October 2023 and I was absolutely unimpressed. But now, after having driven this vehicle for almost 1000 kilometers during this review drive, let me tell you, there are certain elements about this vehicle which make it a very, very good purchase, especially in a city like Mumbai, and especially in a season like monsoon. So first, let us start our review in step-by-step fashion like we always do. Let us first speak about the NVH package of this Maruti Suzuki JImny. Now, it is a car that is built to a cost. It is expensive, but then still Maruti Suzuki had to keep the cost in check, even though the price has gone really high up. I am driving the petrol, naturally aspirated petrol, the only engine option that you get, with this 4-speed automatic, a really old school gearbox. Speaking about NVH, when you're driving this car at sedate speeds, or if you get on the gas, say for example, after moving over a speed breaker, or if you just want to pick up pace, there is some engine noise that is heard inside the cabin. Now that is not harsh, but it sounds like a whine. Now that is because of the drivetrain, but that is a noise, that is a sound that you will constantly hear inside the cabin. You will know that mechanically the vehicle is trying hard to propel you forward. So there is no denying that fact. It is very clearly audible inside the cabin, and even if you like to play your music at a low volume, even then you will hear this engine noise. So that is that, you can't really help it. Next, what I want to highlight, I want to appreciate is how well put together the cabin is. Yes, it is utilitarian. There is nothing fancy. There is no leatherette seat cover or semi-leatherette seat cover. There are not too many soft touch materials inside the cabin. Now this is a media review unit. You all know that these cars are really bashed and thrashed hard for testing and evaluation. But the unit that I am driving, there is absolutely no rattle inside the cabin. There is nothing that is moving around. There is nothing that is making a sound or noise that can disturb me or, annoy me. And that shows that this will last the distance in the hands of a regular owner. Because us journalists, sometimes we get over enthusiastic. We put it through potholes to check out how well the suspension performs. This unit is working flawlessly. There is no problem that I have faced inside the cabin in terms of, panels being loose or something not being, properly fit. So that I really want to appreciate. So that also I am including in this NVH package, point, because there is nothing that is disturbing you inside the cabin when you're driving. As you can notice, I am driving around in Thane city right now. It's a Mumbai suburb and the roads are not all that great. But no body panel is making any noise inside the cabin. So NVH overall is just about acceptable. I don't know if you can hear the engine, but it is audible. Wind noise at city speeds, nothing that you will complain about. And this Jimny, even though people buy it for its off-road credentials, most buyers, whoever buys an off-road vehicle, they drive it inside the city for the maximum amount of time. And in that regard, in that environment, this is not too bad at all. The next point which I want to talk about is the engine finally. Let us speak about the specifications of this Maruti Suzuki Jimny, which is available only in a 5-door Avatar here in the Indian market. So, under the hood, powering this Jimny is the 1.5 litre K15B naturally aspirated 4-cylinder petrol motor. This comes with idle start-stop functionality to save some fuel for you. This engine produces 104.8 PS of power at 6000 RPM and 134.2 Newton meters of torque at 4000 RPM. The manual variant will deliver 16.94 kmpl as per Maruti Suzuki's claim. The automatic variant will deliver 16.39 kilometers per liter of mileage as per Maruti Suzuki's claim, and you have a 40 liter fuel tank capacity. Speaking about the gearbox, I have the 4-speed automatic today. You also have the 5-speed manual transmission option, and the Jimny comes standard with All Grip Pro, which offers you a low range transfer gear, so you can drive it in 2 high, 4 high and 4 low if you're going off-roading or if you are driving it on tarmac. Now the price to performance ratio is really poor with this Jimny because this motor doesn't really have any punch. It lacks character too. It is just something that will keep you going but not keep you excited. There is nothing you can do about it apart from going for aftermarket modifications and tuning, but then reliability can go for a toss. This engine is a very vanilla engine and you will have to live with it. Now, speaking about highway performance, it is okay. You can't really drive it too fast because this is a body on ladder construction. This is a 4x4 SUV, and I will get to why you can't drive it fast. But overall, the motor, when you start from a standstill, it is reasonable for commuting duties. But if you are someone who drives in the fast and furious mode all the time, then this engine is going to let you down and you will have to live with it. Inherently, because this is a 4-cylinder motor, it is refined in terms of not letting any vibrations being felt inside the cabin. There is nothing that is coarse except for that engine noise which is heard inside the cabin. But it doesn't get to the point where you will want to slow down. You will be able to, bear it, but it is what it is. Now the next point which I want to talk about is the mileage, because Maruti Suzuki has claimed a really high mileage figure, which is, I think, very difficult to achieve. I am a very gentle with the throttle kind of a driver, and I can get double-digit mileage figures even in AMGs and M's. But this Maruti Suzuki Jimny, in my review drive experience, I drove it inside Mumbai city, inside city traffic. I drove it on the Mumbai-Pune expressway. I went inside the rural sections of Maharashtra, and now again I am back inside Mumbai city, and the mileage figure, the average fuel economy which I have achieved is 10.8 kmpl. When I was out on the highway, the mileage figure was hovering around 13 kmpl. So I really doubt if anyone is going to get 15 kmpl plus, if they are looking at a mixed kind of a mileage number. If you're only going out on a highway, maybe you will get that mileage figure, but then that is also dependent on how much load you have in the vehicle and at what speeds you are driving it and what kind of road conditions you have. So fuel efficiency is not really a strong point for this Maruti Suzuki Jimny. You will need frequent fuel stops if you're going out long distance touring. And I will tell you why this is a good long distance tourer too, if you are someone who is not too excited from behind the wheel. So mileage between 10 to 11 or maybe 13 kmpl, average fuel economy. If you really try hard, maybe you can get a higher number, but then for that you are going to take a lot of time. You'll have to be very slow. Now the next point which I want to speak about is this steering wheel. Now typically Maruti Suzuki doesn't really have a steering wheel, a steering setup which is really rich in feel and feedback, and That is the case over here as well. Also, because this is a proper 4x4 vehicle, this is a body on ladder construction, the steering wheel does feel very vague at times. Now, when you're commuting, when you're driving this car on a daily basis inside city limits, the steering wheel is on the heavier side. Right now, when you're on the move, you won't really feel too much of a pain or problem, but it will feel slightly heavier compared to any other non-SUV kind of a format vehicle in this price range. But even SUVs, which are not really hardcore off-road focused, even they will feel lighter. But that is obvious, right? This steering wheel, when you are parking your vehicle, you will need effort. You can't, steer the vehicle single-handedly at parking speeds, especially at standstill. You will have to use both your hands. But on the go, the difference, the variation in terms of the effort that you need to put in compared to any other vehicle, this you can live with, but it is slightly on the heavier side. Now, when you're driving it at speeds over 80 kilometers per hour, if you encounter a long sweeping corner, you have to be very cautious about your steering input. You have to measure the steering angle, the steering correction that you are making, because the road can turn in very quickly, but your vehicle might not. So it is advisable that if you're driving it fast, let it be only in a straight line. If you have long sweeping corners or fast switchbacks, this is not a vehicle to be driven fast. Now, this is not too tall. This is not a vehicle which is really towering. There is no road presence actually, so there is not too much of body roll, but it is just that the steering wheel doesn't give you any sense of connection, feel and feedback when you're driving it hard and fast. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. Now, let's talk about this kind of a commuting, right? We are inside the city, and if you're going to drive it to work every day, this Jimny is an easy car to drive. This has that 4-speed automatic, and you can relax. You can have an easy time behind the wheel, given the fact that you know what are the pros and cons of this vehicle. Auto start stop functionality also works as expected. The engine will switch off if you come to a standstill. As soon as you release the brake, the engine will fire up again and you are good to go. There is not too much of a shake and dance when the engine switches off and comes back to life. So that feature, I would actually keep it on this vehicle, which is a gas guzzler. I usually switch it off on most vehicles because I can manage the fuel efficiency. In this vehicle, I haven't really managed to get a higher fuel efficiency number. So in this car, I would leave that auto start stop, idle start stop function active. And ergonomically, this is not really a wide car, so you can reach out to everything easily. Check this out. I don't even have to put in too much of an effort to switch off the aircon vent at the extreme end of the cabin. It is a very tightly packaged vehicle, this Maruti Suzuki JImny. AC vents are ideal, automatic climate control you get. You don't have to get your eyes off the road when you are, changing any setting over here. Your window buttons are here for the front 2 doors. For the rear door, you have it here on the console, and even on the steering wheel, all buttons are easy to understand and they are easily placed. Now, the problem is that touch and feel is just about average. Like I said, this vehicle isn't exceptional in any way. It is just hardcore off-road focused, and if you want to have that kind of a fun, then this makes sense because it can take some beating. But on a daily basis, it just lacks to offer you that special kind of, feeling. You miss that sense of occasion once you step inside the JImny. Everything is easy to understand, operate. The speedometer cluster, the needles I really like, and I'm glad that Maruti Suzuki chose this kind of a setup. The speedometer and the RPM counter, it looks nice. But that MID in the center, it is so Spartan, it looks so bad on a car which can cost almost 17 lakh rupees without discounts, that it should have been replaced with a color display unit at least. So that is some scope of improvement. Maybe if Maruti Suzuki decides to give this car a facelift and they fix that, that would be great. But you get all the information that is necessary: what gear you are driving in, the ambient temperature, fuel economy, instantaneous fuel economy, and there is more. Let me tell you, you get your range displayed, your average speed, your total driving time, you have a clock over there, and you have your trip computers too. So in terms of information, there is no problem. Here on the screen too, you have your fuel economy information displayed to you, and it will tell you your instantaneous reading. So if you want to modulate your throttle accordingly, you can do that as well. The same thing is also on your MID. Check this out. The road is really bad. Really, really horrible in Mumbai. It is a shame that Mumbai city has the worst possible roads in the country. But in this Jimny, I'm really having a good time, and I will get to that soon. The next point which I want to speak about is this gearbox, this 4-speed automatic. Now, the drive selector is such that P, R, N, D to L. Now let me tell you step by step. L is first gear only. L mode on this gear selector is not your low range for off-roading. So L is first gear only. 2 is L plus 2. So 1 and 2, first and second gear only. When you then go to D, in D you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. If you have your OD off, you will have only 1, 2, 3. But with OD on, 1, 2, 3, 4, all 4 gears can be used. So that button is on the gear stick. You can very easily press it, and if you think that you need to keep the engine on the boil, the meat of the power band, you can do that, and then that will allow you to keep moving progressively. But if you're buying an automatic, I don't really think you needed that OD on-off switch, because the vehicle is an automatic. It is smart enough to gauge if it should upshift or downshift or be in whatever gear, because the onboard computer is smart enough to do that. But if you're on an incline, and if you think you want to just stick to the first and second gear, you can do that by yourself, and that is a good choice to have, especially if the road surface, the terrain is a little tricky. So what I want you guys to notice now is the way this gearbox performs. So you primarily have to keep your eyes over here on this MID. Right now I am in P, which is park, then reverse, now neutral. Now I am in drive mode, 2 and L. Okay, so let us start off in L mode. Like I mentioned, L mode is only your first gear. So check this out. When I am driving this car in L mode, look at the RPM gauge. The vehicle is holding on to that first gear, and it will stay there even though I am closer to the red line, and beyond 6000 RPM, around 6250 RPM, it is hitting the limiter. Now when I shift to 2, which is first and second gear ability, check this out. Right now it will hold on to the second gear. It will drop down to the first gear if you go slow. So let me show that to you. It will not show that it is in first gear over here, but the mode 2 is going to allow you to stay in first and second gear only. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. If you are driving around hilly areas, maybe you can use this drive mode. I'm going to slow down right now just to show you, give you a reference that, have a look at this. I'm pulling over to the shoulder. I'm in mode 2, and even if you are in mode 2, you can completely come to a standstill and there is no problem. Alright, so I'm in mode 2. I don't have to go to L mode to start off. It actually engages the first gear, and then it has now moved to second gear. Now the gearbox is smooth. There is not too much of a head nod, but it is on the slower side. This is really an old school gearbox. So it is not fast shifting like a DSG, but it is not completely dumb like an AMT. So now you have seen that in L mode it will hold on to the first gear. In 2 mode it will hold on to the second gear when you are on the move. Now I have pressed the button for overdrive. OD is off, and now I have moved to D mode. Now in D mode, I can continue in 1, 2, 3, first, second and third gear. Because OD is off, it will not upshift to the fourth gear. So say for example, if you're on a gently increasing incline patch, if you're going up a ghat, and if you want to restrict the engine and the performance to first, second, third gear only, you can stay in D mode, but you can press the button and get OD off. And if you want all the gears to be available, just press OD on, so that telltale light goes away. It doesn't say OD on. And then in D mode, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, all gears available for you. So that is something that you should keep in mind. You can do this on the go too. So right now I'm in D mode. I can still go back to 2 if I want. It will downshift to the second gear. It will take a split second to understand your input. And then because of the engine noise that is heard inside the cabin, you will see the RPM climbing, that it is now at a lower gear at a higher rev. That is also going to be a telltale sign, apart from having a look at the MID, which will say that you are in mode 2. But right now, if I try to go to 1, I don't think that is going to be possible. I won't really try to abuse the gearbox because I am at speed 40 plus. So that is about the gearbox. It is good enough for the application. It is not exciting, like I said, this vehicle. The engine also doesn't really have so much performance that the motor warranted for a fast shifting dual clutch automatic or even a 6-speed automatic. This 4-speed 80 does a fine job over here in this Maruti Suzuki JImny. Now since we have this POV angle, let me also very quickly show you how vague the steering wheel is. Okay, right now it is at center. Check this out. It is doing nothing. It is still going straight. Very, very minor correction of the wheels, which you will feel if you are really paying attention. But otherwise, there is a lot of dead area in the center of the steering wheel of this Maruti Suzuki JImny. But in terms of ease of use, this gearbox will not let you down. There are no paddle shifters, but you have that manual control over this 4-speed automatic. Now, speaking about this 4x4 gear selector, right now I am in 2 high because I am out on tarmac. If you want to, switch it, you will have to come to a standstill and then do it. It is very easy to do it. 2 high is when you drive it on normal road surface, on normal tarmac for your commuting duties. 4 high is when you think you need some better traction, but you are going to be at a higher speed. So that is going to help you, stay in control of your JImny, get better traction. Say for example, if you are going up and down a trail, which is not too tricky, you can stay in 4 high. But if you go all out off-roading, if you're driving through slush, if you are crawling over rocks, you can select the low range gear. You can go to 4 low, and then this JImny will come into its own, in its element, and it will show you what it is meant to do. And then you will probably appreciate this vehicle more. But we are not doing that today, because most of you all might have seen all of this content online. Today, what I want to tell you is that this JImny, even though it looks too small, even though it is overpriced, even though the interior cabin is nothing great, this is just a 4-seater vehicle. Even though this has a 5-door layout, this makes a lot of sense in a city like Mumbai because the ride quality is phenomenal. Now that has been the highlight for me since the time that I have gotten behind the wheel of this Maruti Suzuki JImny. Now what I really liked is that you drive it over potholes, you drive it over undulated roads, you drive it over a speed breaker, you drive it over any kind of broken surface. There is no thud that is felt inside the cabin. There is nothing that unsettles you, the driver or your passenger. I had my parents in this car, I had my friends and other family members in this vehicle. None of them ever complained that the vehicle, felt too stiff. The vehicle felt not built for, the bad road surface here in and around Mumbai. And that has been the biggest highlight for me. I have been a very comfortable driver behind the wheel of this JImny, and it has been so good that even though I was a hater at the beginning, I am seriously thinking if I get a really sweet deal, why not pick a vehicle like this? Because in a city like Mumbai, the roads are forever bad. They are so poorly built, they are so horribly paved that you need a car which can keep you comfortable, and this Maruti Suzuki JImny has kept me comfortable throughout. Backing that are also these seats, which are really well padded. They are nice and supportive. They are not really all that wide, but in terms of comfort, they are really doing a fine job. The suspension, when you drive it over a speed breaker, it can bounce a little from the rear end, because you know the suspension hardware that you are offered with this vehicle. This is not, a tarmac only vehicle. This is built to take a beating when you're going off-road too. So that is why the suspension, it won't really stay flat at all times. It can bounce if the vehicle has lesser load. So you have to keep that in mind. But overall, the way it just drives, it drives in a very mature fashion. It drives like a car, maybe from a segment or two above, because it is just that compliant with any kind of road surface, and you will really appreciate it, especially if you are going out on a long drive, because by the time you come to the end of your drive, you won't be tired because of the bad roads tiring you inside the cabin. That is probably the only reason why anyone should drive home in a JImny. That is one of the biggest reasons why you should drive home in the JImny, because the suspension, really, I have thoroughly just appreciated it. Every time I couldn't slow down enough for a pothole or for a broken patch, but once I moved over it, I had no problems and no complaints at all. So Maruti Suzuki, thumbs up for the suspension tune. You all have really nailed it, and I'm sure that whoever has bought this vehicle, they are really happy with this suspension setup, and they are really having a comfortable drive on a daily basis. And even while doing that, when you're driving over horrible roads and you go all out full gas over that kind of a road surface, even then inside the cabin there is not too much that is rattling. There is nothing that is making you feel like something can fall apart. So that also is a sign that this is a well-built vehicle and it will last the distance. You know that there are quite a few Maruti Suzuki Gypsies which are still going all out on the streets, and those kind of customers are enjoying their Gypsies in the monsoon season going off-roading. The JImny can possibly do what the Gypsy can, but it can keep you even more comfortable. The Gypsy never really had the kind of ride quality that this JImny offers, and that again could be a reason for those kind of buyers to upgrade to this. I don't know if they'll think this is an upgrade or a downgrade, but when you drive it daily, this will not, make you go to a chiropractor at the end of your drive. So what a fantastic little car. Not really the best, but it has its own pros and it has some cons for sure. The next point is braking, and the braking setup has kept me confident. I've really not felt that the car is lacking stopping power. Yes, it does take some more time than any other conventional vehicle in this price or performance range, but that is because the nature of the vehicle, the way that it is built, the purpose that it is built for. So once you get to understand the stopping distance, which is slightly longer, then it is all right. When you really stomp on the brakes too, the suspension setup is not compliant to the point that it is too soft, so there is not too much of nosedive that you feel either, and bringing this vehicle in your control is not really a problem. The brake pedal might feel a little spongy to some people, but you will get used to it very soon. Now the tires, they have also offered me good grip. I have been driving it in torrential downpour in and around Mumbai and in Maharashtra, and I had good grip throughout. Never did I feel that I'm losing traction or the tires are, lacking to give me confidence to drive around in this JImny. So the setup that you are getting with this vehicle is par for the course. It is just that it is not really exceptional. It doesn't really ace any particular aspect except for that ride quality and that suspension setup. This vehicle at this price, for creature comforts, you're only getting cruise control. For your driver aids kind of creature comforts, there is no ADAS, there is no dash cam either to record your journey or for safety, and that's about it. It's pretty Spartan inside the cabin, and where it really lacks is being utilitarian, in being practical. There are two cup holders over here, but they are also really small. You can't really have a 1 liter bottle placed in those cup holders. I don't know why Maruti Suzuki couldn't just increase the size of those cup holders. I know that there are plenty of accessories which you can buy, but right off the bat, right from the showroom, this vehicle is not really all that practical. Behind you have a 50-50 split for that rear seat, and this is a 4-seater only. And in terms of luggage carrying capacity, is really not that bad. You can carry quite some luggage. If you are 4 people going out for a road trip, it can swallow all those bags. But really narrow, really slim door pockets, missing cup holders, no wireless charger. So there is a lot that is missing inside the Jimny. But still, I'm still thinking, should I buy one? Because it just rides so well. And when people evaluate and review cars, especially journalists, they say that you need performance, you need some excitement from behind the wheel. But let me tell you, when you're commuting on a daily basis, you need comfort, and this car, very comfortable. So that is all that I want to share with you about this Maruti Suzuki Jimny, and I have been impressed, and I am converted from being a hater to someone who could potentially think of buying one, because it just makes sense for my kind of life and lifestyle and my driving requirements. I'm not someone who keeps driving the vehicle fast all the time and hitting the rev limiter. So this is quite impressive. If you have any other queries about this vehicle, ask me in the comments below and I will try my best to help you out. Do check out the other short format content pieces which we have uploaded. Some were almost from a year ago, where my opinion about this vehicle was really negative. This is the time when I have spent really long hours behind the wheel of this car, and now I have started to make some sense out of this package. So nothing was wrong back then either. That could resonate with some people who just try this vehicle and then just do not like it. Then some people who have really given it a thought for a really long time. All of those guys might appreciate this package and resonate with the points that I have spoken about now in this video. Visibility all around is really good. The driver seat, not height adjustable, but still a good driving seat position. My height is 5 feet 8 inches. Good headroom that is available, and I can see all 4 corners of this vehicle with absolute ease. I don't really have to struggle at all. And ergonomically also, like I said, everything is good in terms of being in your reach. But the dead pedal which you get for your left foot, it is not straight when you place your foot. It is pushed inside, so your feet is a little tilted on the inside. So that is an ergonomic flaw, but then that is also because of the way the drivetrain has been arranged in this Maruti Suzuki Jimny. So goodbye guys, subscribe to the Shifting Gears channel. This has been a video after a really long time, a detailed drive review video after a really long time, and I hope that we add some value to your car buying decisions. See you soon. Always drive safe, and always guys, wear your seat belts.